All right, Steve. So we've talked a lot about what to look for if you're going to do this first time or a second time. But for the audience, I also just want to share with you guys a lot about how these surgeries have really improved my life. And Steve mentioned earlier that for a lot of guys, investing in their appearance and their hair is something that they're very proud to have done, and something that is a worthy investment. And I think so as well. In my experience, I'm going to be 32 years old this year. Most people who meet me for the first time would think that I'm in my mid to late 20s. Had I not had any of these surgeries, I would look a lot older than almost 32. And, I've been able to style my hair the way that I've always wanted to style it. However, I have to have some limitations in how I do this. So even though I did have the scar revised in the back of my head, I can't do any sort of a fade style haircut. And the way that I kind of equate this is that, if I really buzz the sides short, you're going to see a lot of the bigger grafts that built out my temples, and a lot of the grafts that really thicken the center and the two recessions. So even though I can't necessarily, use a Bic razor and shave my head, and I can't do any sort of a fade style haircut, I think where I'm at now, 3 surgeries later, is so much better than where I was when I was 28, about to go into this.
Absolutely. I mean, limitations on any types of procedures when it comes to cosmetics has got to be thought about and discussed and decided on. I know usually these conversations and these meetings with my good friend Lance are going to eventually end up where you viewers are going to be asking that question, why didn't he get FUE? Okay, and I don't want to keep beating a dead horse and going back to the same old thing, but there's a reason why we use FUE. There's a reason why we use the linear procedure. Lance is someone that wanted to move a lot of hair. From an ethical standpoint, and done properly, you cannot move a lot of hair with FUE. So automatically, when you want to move a lot of hair, you give up your ability to wear your hair in certain lengths. As a young person, I'm not saying older people don't want to fade their hair as well, but you give up some options on how to wear your hair because you have some sort of a linear scar on the back of your head. Now, we talked about what Lance did to revise that and to fill that in, and he did a great job, but he's still limited by what you had just talked about in regards to their styling options. But oh my God, you look like a kid. So you're trading off looking like a 40-year-old to looking like a 28-year-old. But you've got a few things that you may not be able to do. So again, it's all about full disclosure. Make sure that when we're going into these things, believe it or not, I've had some young guys say, no, Steve. No, I'm the guy, I'm the patient. The most important part of me getting a procedure is to wear my hair short in the back. That's the most important part. Now, that makes no sense to me, but it does to that patient. So we have to hear you, and we have to figure out what is most important to you. And Lance, obviously, looking as good as you do, you're willing to take that trade-off.
Yeah, and it kind of goes back to managing your expectations, where and this is something I learned after having these surgeries, is that, Steve alluded to, it's almost like an illusion. Well, your hair is, the new hair, when it finally grows out and all the grafts that replace grow out from your surgeries, it's not going to be exactly like what your hair was before you started losing it. The hairs in the back of the head that aren't affected by DHT are a lot stronger and thicker. And if it's cut to a very short length, it's going to be pretty obvious that those are grafts. However, you have to let them grow to the sweet spot that allows them to cover more area. I kind of think of it like, if you've ever mowed your lawn before and you cut the setting too short, you can see all the roots and the dirt and the grass. If you cut it too short, you're going to see where all the grafts replace. So you have to have an optimal length of how long you can have the hair so that it covers a good amount of area and it gives you the appearance that you want. So there are trade-offs to that, but it's all about managing your expectations.
Yeah, Lance, that's a great point, is hairstyle-wise as well. I think what Lance, my version of it, is a happy medium, somewhere in between. Young guys or older guys want to shave their heads. Hair transplant that you've had, even in 2 procedures or maybe 3, is going to be exposed to have less hair in a given zone when it's been transplanted. Now, that's going to expose the fact that, it's kind of a reverse of what you tried to do. When you wear hair a little bit longer, or let's just call it medium length or whatnot, you can't see that weakness like the cutting the grass. By the same token, if you want to wear your hair like Van Halen or any of the old hair band, it's going to look sparse and thin, because the longer the hair, when you have less of it, will expose the fact because it doesn't have any body and weight. So that goes back to the hair transplant illusion, where that's a heck of an illusion, Lance. You look pretty darn good. So, It's all about having realistic expectations.